Welcome to this deep dive where we're going to unpack something that really impacts every single interaction you have: mastering communication. You shared some really interesting material with me focused on speaking with confidence and, having more influence. And our goal today is to distill the crucial, actionable insights that can help you connect with others more effectively and, frankly, just make your conversations flow a bit better.
That's exactly right. And what's fascinating about the sources you provided is how they show that truly effective communication, it's not just about the words coming out of your mouth,
Right.
It's this whole intricate mix of how we listen, the subtle messages our bodies are constantly sending, even down to how we craft, say, a concise email. It's a really holistic picture.
Absolutely. Think about those people you meet who just have that magnetic presence. They say something and you're just all ears.
Yeah.
What this material suggests, which I find really encouraging actually, is that this isn't some innate superpower. These are skills you can learn, you can develop.
Definitely learnable.
Yeah. So with such a big topic, where should we even begin to dig in?
Well, the material wisely kicks off with something that might seem a bit counterintuitive. Great communication isn't built on talking first. It's actually built on listening. It highlights how easily we all fall into that trap of just waiting for our turn to speak, maybe even formulating our brilliant response while the other person is still trying to get their thoughts out. Sound familiar?
Oh, absolutely. My brain can be a real conversational bottleneck sometimes, jumping ahead to what I want to say next. So what's the trick then to silencing that internal chatter and really tuning in?
Yeah, the core skill here is what they call active listening. It's about directing your full attention to the speaker, going beyond just hearing the words, and really striving to grasp the complete message.
Okay.
That includes their underlying intentions, even the emotions they might be conveying. And the sources give us some very practical techniques for this. Things like maintaining natural eye contact. It's a powerful signal that you're engaged.
Right. Not staring, but engaged.
Exactly. And minimizing those distractions that are always vying for our attention, which takes real conscious effort these days. And then using simple verbal cues.
You mean those little nods and uh-huhs? Sometimes I worry those come across as a bit automatic, like you're not really listening.
They definitely can if they're not genuine. But when they actually reflect your engagement, they show the speaker you're following along.
Okay.
The material also really emphasizes the impact of summarizing. Using phrases like, so if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying.
Ah, paraphrasing.
Yeah, exactly. And this does a couple of things. One, it confirms your own comprehension, but crucially, it makes the speaker feel truly heard and understood. Have you ever had that feeling when someone really gets what you're trying to say?
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah. When someone can accurately sort of reflect back what I've just said, it's like they've unlocked a deeper level of connection. It feels really good. And the source points out that making people feel heard actually increases their liking and respect for you. That's a pretty significant payoff for just focusing on listening well.
It really is. It shifts the dynamic away from our own need to talk and towards genuinely understanding the other person. And once that foundation of listening is solid, then we can talk about speaking.
Right.
The material puts a really strong emphasis on clarity and conciseness in how you express yourself.
Yes, that really hit home for me. I'm sure you've been there listening to someone who just seems to wander all over the place and you're left wondering, okay, what was the point?
Exactly. And the sources are spot on when they say that if it takes too long to get to the core of your message, you just risk losing your audience completely. Our attention spans are,
Yeah, pretty short these days. So what practical strategies does the material offer for getting your ideas across directly without all the unnecessary rambling?
It highlights a few key things. First, just the value of organizing your thoughts before you even start speaking. Seems obvious, right?
You'd think so.
But having even a quick mental outline, even for just a casual chat, can really prevent those verbal detours. Then it talks about being mindful of and cutting out those filler words, the ums, abutes, or likes, that can just pepper our speech.
Ah, the dreaded filler.
Yeah, those little verbal crutches. They can actually erode the listener's perception of your confidence, even if what you're saying is really solid. And the material makes a really insightful point about using pauses deliberately for impact.
Okay.
A well-timed silence can actually draw attention to a key point much more effectively than just rushing to fill every single second with sound. Have you noticed how powerful silence can be?
Absolutely. It gives your words room to breathe, to land. And I really like the reference to someone like Steve Jobs. His presentations were so impactful, right? And a big part of that was his clear, simple language. He avoided jargon, complex sentences, very direct.
Precisely. Speaking with clarity and conciseness shows respect for your listener's time and just makes your message far more likely to stick. Now, the sources then shift our focus a bit to something that often operates kind of below the surface, body language.
Yes, the unspoken language. And that statistic it throws out there that a huge chunk of communication is nonverbal. It really makes you stop and think about what your body is saying, even when you're totally silent.
It really does. And the example of a job interview is something, well, most of us can relate to.
Definitely.
You might have all the perfect answers lined up, but if you're like fidgeting, avoiding eye contact, or sitting all closed off, it can completely undermine your words. It signals nervousness or maybe a lack of confidence.
Totally. So for someone listening who wants to be more aware of their nonverbal cues, where should they even start? What are some key things to focus on?
The material points out several key elements. Standing tall with an open posture, think relaxed shoulders, facing the person you're talking to that immediately projects more confidence and approachability. A genuine smile makes you seem more likable, more receptive, and using hand gestures, naturally, can really emphasize your points and make your communication more engaging. Ever notice how expressive speakers use their hands?
Yeah, totally. It suggests watching TED Talk speakers as models for this, which I thought was a brilliant tip.
Oh, yes.
You see speakers using gestures and moving in ways that naturally underline their message. It feels authentic, not like rehearsed.
Exactly. It's about creating that alignment between what you're saying and what your body is doing, a cohesive message. And speaking of impact, the material then dives into the power of storytelling.
Oh, I'm a huge believer in this. Stories just seem to connect with people on a deeper level than just, a list of facts or data points, don't you think?
Absolutely. The sources explain this is largely because stories create an emotional connection. They engage us differently than just plain information. Think about when someone shares a personal anecdote. Doesn't it often leave a more lasting impression?
Definitely. And the comparison the material gives really brings us home, just stating this new fitness app tracks your progress, versus telling the story of someone who, say, lost 50 pounds and totally transformed their health using that same app.
Right.
The story is so much more compelling, more memorable. You can almost picture their journey.
Exactly. It makes the benefits tangible, relatable. So how can someone listening become a better storyteller in their own communication, even just in everyday chats?
Well, the material offers some really practical advice. It suggests thinking about how you can frame explanations as mini narratives, using real-life examples to make your ideas more relatable, and, crucially, injecting some emotion. People tend to remember how you made them feel.
That emotional resonance is so key. It's what helps the story stick long after the details might fade. Now, shifting gears slightly from how we tell stories to the actual tools we use, the words themselves, the material emphasizes the value of continuously expanding your vocabulary.
This is something I think a lot of people find tricky. You know that feeling when you have a precise thought, but you just can't quite find the perfect word. It's so frustrating. Have you experienced that?
Oh, absolutely. All the time. And the sources rightly point out that having a richer vocabulary lets you articulate thoughts with more accuracy, and it can also boost your persuasiveness.
Right.
When you can choose just the right word, your message just carries more weight.
So what are some effective, practical ways for listeners to build their word power without it feeling like, studying for a test?
Yeah, good point. The material offers some tried and true methods. Reading widely, books, articles, even engaging online content just exposes you to new words in context. Keeping a vocabulary journal, maybe jotting down new words that catch your eye and actively trying to use them, that's effective too. And it makes a really important point about focusing on words that fit your personal style. You don't want to suddenly sound like you swallowed a thesaurus.
Right. Authenticity is key. You want to enhance your natural voice, not sound like someone else. And I liked that pro tip they included, suggesting stronger word choices. Like, instead of just saying, this is good, maybe try this is impressive or this is exceptional.
Exactly.
Those small shifts can really elevate things.
They add nuance, precision, and effective communication isn't just about the words. It's also deeply tied to the quality of the interaction itself. The material then moves on to highlight social skills.
Yes, emphasizing that communication is a two-way street. It's not just about broadcasting your message, it's about creating a positive, engaging dynamic. What are some key social skills mentioned?
The advice here is very practical, stuff you can use right away. Simple things like using people's names creates an instant sense of connection. Asking open-ended questions, the kind that invite more than just a yes or no, like what was the highlight of your week instead of did you have a good week?
Yeah, much better.
Gets people talking more. And the suggestion to actively seek out common interests is so valuable. That's often where real rapport is built. What kind of questions do you find spark good conversation?
Those open-ended ones, for sure. And that point about common ground really resonates. When you find a shared interest, it creates an instant bond, doesn't it?
It really does. And at its heart, as the material points out, strong social skills boil down to cultivating a genuine interest in other people. When that interest is sincere, conversations just naturally become more enjoyable for everyone.
Absolutely.
Now, let's shift focus again to how your voice itself, the tone, the delivery, impacts everything.
Ah, yes. Vocal delivery. I know I've listened to speakers who had amazing content, but their like monotone or super rushed delivery just made it hard to stay engaged. Has that happened to you?
Oh, definitely. The sources emphasize that your tone of voice significantly influences how seriously your message lands. If you sound uncertain or hesitant, it can undermine your credibility, even if your words are great.
So for our listeners, what are some tangible steps to develop a stronger, more confident vocal presence?
Okay, the material offers several actionable techniques. Deliberately slowing down your speech rate. That's a big one.
Right.
Rushing can make you sound nervous, and it's harder for people to actually process what you're saying. Recording yourself speaking, even just for a few minutes on your phone, can be incredibly insightful.
Yeah, I can see that. A bit cringe maybe, but insightful.
It can be, but it gives you an objective way to hear your patterns. And practicing speaking in front of a mirror sounds old school, but it helps build confidence and awareness of your whole presentation, facial expressions included.
The reference to Barack Obama's speaking style is a great example of this. His deliberate pace, that measured tone it conveys authority, makes his words feel intentional.
Exactly. A controlled, confident voice can significantly amplify your message's impact. Finally, the material touches on something critical for us today: communicating effectively in the digital world.
Oh, this is so crucial now. So much interaction happens via text, email, Slack, where all those nonverbal cues we talked about just vanish.
Yeah.
And that leads to misunderstandings.
Totally. That lack of context makes it easy to misread tone and intent. The material gives some specific useful tips here. Things like using proper punctuation. It's amazing how a comma or an exclamation point can totally change the meaning, isn't it?
It really can. And the advice on using emojis sparingly to convey tone can help. But, like the material says, don't overdo it, especially professionally.
Right.
That recommendation to always reread your messages, especially important emails, before hitting send. Yeah, we could all probably do that more often. Ever sent one you immediately regretted?
Oh, I think we all have. That little pause for reflection can save a lot of headaches. And the material suggests asking yourself before you send, is my tone clear? Could this be misinterpreted? That's such a valuable question.
It really is, because without your voice or body language, those written words carry all the weight, and they're totally open to interpretation.
Well, this deep dive has really covered a ton of ground, hasn't it? From active listening all the way through to the digital nuances, it's all interconnected.
It really is. It's like this multifaceted skill set that, when you work on it, can significantly improve your interactions, your influence, everything. And like the sources say, mastering communication isn't about perfection. It's about consistent effort, practice, taking it one step at a time.
Exactly. It's a journey, continuous growth.
So for you, our listener, just take a moment. Think about everything we've discussed: listening, clarity, body language, storytelling, vocabulary, social skills, vocal tone, online stuff. Which of these areas kind of resonates most with you right now? And maybe more importantly, which specific tip or technique will you actively try to implement moving forward? Because that intentional application, that's where the real learning happens.
Absolutely. It's about taking these insights and making them practical habits. Confident, effective communication is a skill you can always refine, and every little step you take will definitely make a positive difference in how you connect with the world.